Okay, I'm going to pick up on your joke then. All this work that I'm going to show you could have been done in Isabelle Hall, as long as you have enough libraries. So my big dream is that I want to apply formal verification to any topic where mathematics is required. If you have to have mathematics, it means you have to be careful not making mistakes in your designs. And I would like to explore how we can catch all kind of mistakes. And here so one of these examples of objects where you have mathematics is robots. So I just want to concentrate on the notion of trajectories for robots. And if you have trajectory for robots, it's easy to explain mathematically what it is to have safety. You want two sets to be disjoint, the set of points that they correspond to the trajectory of the robot and the set of points that corresponds to the obstacles. So I'm going to look at something that looks like a maze. I will have obstacles that are described by straight line segments, and I will want to do trajectories between these segments. And the purpose of this talk is not about the trajectories, it's about the first phase, which is decomposing the space in small cells that are very simple in shape, and where it will be easy to decide about collision. So these cells are going to be convex, and also I want them to be non-empty, and the non-emptiness is going to be the bulk of this presentation. So I'm going to make it clearer with a little drawing. This is an example of a maze. So these are my obstacles, the black lines, and the box around is the space in which I'm working. And this is the result of the algorithm I want to talk to you about today. It builds a finite number of objects, which are cells. So here I give them numbers. And these cells are all either square or some sort of trapezoid or some sort of triangle. And I will show you how these things are built. So basically the idea is that you sweep the workspace with a vertical line, and every time you meet an extremity of an obstacle, you start doing something about maintaining a consider a presentation of the maze where people gave me obstacles that do not cross, and they didn't give me any vertical obstacles. So the vertical obstacles I will maybe discuss at the end of the talk, but if I forget, you can ask a question. It's not a big issue to not have them. So here's the a short drawing that I will use to explain what is happening. You know, the cells that are in dark color, they are cells that are whose work is finished. So this blue one, and this one, which is dark red. And these cells are finished. They are complete. I'm happy with the way they are done. And the other ones, I only know the left-hand side, but the right-hand side, I don't know where it is going to be because it's beyond the sweep line that I'm currently using to describe the computation. So this sweep line is at this place because we are actually working at this event. And after processing this event here, we've created these two new cells. And let's look at what is going to happen at the next step. So the next step is the sweep line is going to move in the space, and it's going to reach this point. So when reaching this point, what is going to happen is that we're going to say, oh, this point is in the cell that was in pink color before. That cell is going to be closed. So that pink color where I said I don't know where it finishes. Well, now I know it finishes at this place. And I make this dark green cell. And the other ones, well, I know that this one that already existed is beyond that vertical line. The one on top, the gray one on top, has the same property. It finishes beyond. And because there is an edge starting at this point here, I'm creating two new cells, one on top and one below. That's it. So this is just the way it works. Every time you meet, every time your sweep line meets a new event, what you do is you detect what are the cells that are in contact with this event. And for all of them, you say, well, now we know their right-hand side, and you close them. So you complete them. You make them complete. In the paper, I use the word open and close for the incomplete ones and the complete ones. But when I gave more talks to people, they told me, oh, but the complete cells are open because you have doors to go in and out. So it makes it a bit complicated. So here in the talk, I will try to use the word complete and incomplete for what in the paper I use as open and closed cells. Okay, so you compute the cells that are in contact, you complete them, and then you produce new incomplete cells for all the spaces between the new edges that you just, for that the existence of which you just discovered. Okay, so let's, I made this slide just to explain it a little better. So here the three incomplete cells were this light green one, the pink one, and the gray on top. And when we reached here, this one was completed because there was only one cell in contact with the event, and these two new ones were created. Okay. So I repeated myself. Now, one of the difficulties of this algorithm is that I don't want my cells to have an empty content, because if I have two vertically aligned segments, then the cells is going to be very, very flat, and I have certain paths that are safe when a cell has non-empty space become dangerous. So I don't want that to happen. And to avoid that, I create, in my algorithm, I have a data structure which is not only knowing about what is the list of incomplete cells, but knowing which one is the last incomplete cell that was created, because this one may require some modifications. So I'm going to show you that. So this is the way my data structure for cells is organized. It has four fields. One is the low edge, which is something that may continue before and after. And it also has a high edge. And it has two vertical lists of points, which correspond to all the points that are unsafe in the sides. And because I rejected vertical edges, the unsafe points are always isolated. So they are the ones on the top and the bottom. But if there is another edge that terminates here, for example, then you would have an extra left point in the middle. So these sequences of points, I maintain them as ordered in the vertical direction. So I told you you may have several cells in contact. So if your vertical line is coming slowly here, when you're here, you have these three cells, C1, C2, and C3, which are incomplete and live. And when you arrived here, Well, you said they're going to be closed, so this one is going to be closed. This one is closed, and the sequence of right points is going to be limited to only 1 point, and this one will have at least 2 points. And then you process what is happening on the other side. So the new incomplete cells are here, and if the next event happens to be in the middle here, then you obviously create a new cell which is not empty, and it will have one side here and one side there. And so this is very interesting because any path going from this side to that side is correct, even if there was obstacles. If you go from a place here that is not one of the points, the unsafe points, then it's okay. And if you go from here to there, if E prime is considered to be an unsafe point, then you have these trajectories from here to here and from here to here are from the left-hand side of C5 to the right-hand side of C5 are correct. But you cannot go from the right-hand side of C5 on top of the unsafe point to the right-hand side of C5 below the unsafe point without going through the middle. And this is where you really need the cell not to be empty. You need to have a middle to use as a way to build a safe path. So now if we look to the case where the two events E and E prime are aligned, then I would be creating a cell C5 which would be flat, and that's not acceptable. So instead of doing that, we update the C3 to say, the cell C3 to say, oh, the new event E prime has to be recorded among its unsafe points on the right. And C6 also has to know about all the unsafe points that may have existed on the right-hand side of C3. And if I do that correctly, then I can just discard the cell C5 and not build such a degenerate cell. So this is basically what the algorithm does. And so now I'm going to talk about the implementation. What I do is that I use edges that are pairs of points. And as I said earlier, that what I did could be done in Isabelle, but here there's a little glitch because I decided to have a data invariant, which is represented by a property. My points, my obstacles, to say that they cannot be vertical, I have the proof that the first coordinate of the left point is less than the first coordinate of the second point. Then I have notions to describe what it is for a point to be above, under, or on an edge. And I also have a notion of edges that are vertically above one of the points. So that's what I call these valid edges. And then I also have a possibility to compare several edges. So the notion of an edge being above another one. And I have a notion of well-formed cells. Obviously, the high edge of a cell should be above the low edge. And then the sequence of cells that I use for my that is maintained during the algorithm, the sequence of incomplete cells is composed of adjacent cells. So I also have to be able to describe this property. So if we just to go a little more into details, but you can read the book, the paper if you want to know more. The computation of whether a point is above an edge or not is very simple to perform. It's a computation of a determinant. So it only uses multiplication, subtraction, and additions. So then the fact that an edge is below another one, I use this notion of points above or under to describe it. And I have some sort of transitivity that happens. That is, if I take 2 points that are one vertically above the other, if the lower point is also above an edge, then the second is also above the edge. So all these lemmas I need to provide. So I make a library of all these lemmas of comparisons between points and edges. But there is one tricky thing, is that the notion of edges being below one another is not transitive in general. So it's very, it made all the proof more complicated, because you can only talk about edges being above one another if they are above the same point, and even so, you have to be careful about extremities and things like that. So that was really one of the difficulties in the proof. And in the end, to make it work, I will talk a little better, but a little later. So basically, the proof goes by maintaining a big invariant about the processing loop that creates that creates this data structure. And what happened is that, I designed the algorithm thinking, oh, it's going to work. And then when doing the proof, it was like working on an invariant that was simple in the beginning. And as every time I needed a new property, I would think, oh, do I think that this new property can be invariant? If yes, I try to prove, I add it as an assumption, and then I try to prove that it is going to be preserved. And that was a very long piece of discovering the properties of the algorithm I had just designed during all this proof process. And in a way, you might think it's naive of me to go that way, have my algorithm and just discovering the proof as it goes. But I kept doing it that way because I always thought, if engineers want to use this kind of methods, this is probably the process they are going to have. They discover the properties as they need. And this is what I tried to do as I went in the proof. So there was this notion of having a sweep line going from left to right in my space, and to represent this process of sweeping progressively, I just have implemented the first phase, which builds the sequence of events as it should be treated. And for each event, I decided to record in the data structure what I call an event. Is not just a point. It's a point and the information of which are the edges that start from this point and go toward the left. So if I have these 3 edges, for example, the events are going to be ordered in that way. The first one you encounter is 1. The second one is 2. And the event records the fact that there are 2 edges leaving from there. The third event is going to be 3, and 4 and 5. So this sequence is built using an algorithm which is almost the same as insertion sort. That is, it takes the sequence of edges as input, and every time it processes an edge, it inserts in the sequence of event first the left-hand side point, and then the right-hand side point, and with the information that the right-hand side point is just a right-hand side. And when you discover that you are meeting an event that you've already encountered, for example, when you process this edge, you are going to create the event 2. And when you process this one, you discover that the left-hand side is the same. So you're just going to say it's the same event, but it has one more element in its list of outgoing edges. So we are going to work on a sequence of events which is lexicographically sorted. And this is the way I model this idea of a sweeping line. So the data structure which is maintained during the processing is made of 7 fields, and I'm not completely happy with that. In fact, I think I should have done a first proof with a less complicated data structure, because in this data structure, the 6th and 7th field are actually caches that I maintain. And if you maintain a cache, then you have to prove that this cache is correctly maintained. And the fact that you have a cache to maintain adds to the proof, but it does not add to the logic of the problem. So I think if I had to redo a similar exercise, I would really try to first do a proof of the most naive implementation without trying to be clever about remembering data that I already know. But I do have to know which is the last cell that was created. And to do that, I use 3 fields, one to represent the cells that come before the cell itself and the cell that come after. And so this is why there are so many fields in my data structure. So as I said, when I did the proof, I started by proving the small properties that seem obvious. That, for example, each cell has has its low edge that is below the high edge, and things like that. So I'm not going to read for you all the text that's here, but this is the kind of simple facts that I start to prove when I attack the proof of the algorithm. One thing that I said was a pain in the neck was the fact that I initially tried to work with the idea that my edges were sorted for the order of comparison between edges. But because this order of comparison between edges is not transitive, this is not a piece of information that you can use really well. But I discovered there was something stronger that was useful, is the fact that every edge is below all the edges that come later in the sequence of high edges. So I don't need to have this property, this transitivity property, because the conclusion that I would draw from this transitivity you have the fact that that you would draw from it. So what the way the main structure works is that I actually, instead of showing directly that obstacles are disjoint from the interior of the cells, what I first prove is that all the cells are disjoint from one another, and I can attach all the obstacles to the top of the cells. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. This is what I want to prove, and the way I prove it is the fact that the cells are disjoint. And whenever you create a new, whenever you process a new event, you're just going to create new cells that are disjoint. And the complete cells are subparts of the incomplete cells that you saw until then. So the process, the progressive processing works that way. I'm a bit sorry of the imbalance between the presentation I'm making here and the time that was spent in proofs. You know, I spent more time explaining the algorithm here, and in fact, I spent more time doing the proofs, but you all know that. You know. I didn't have the courage to enter into the details of the proof in front of you. So now, what I would like to do with this algorithm, well, I'm already thinking about what to do with the fact that I imposed that edge. The data that's provided to us has already been cleaned, and the edge should not cross. In fact, the algorithm that goes by sweeping is very close to algorithms for what is called in computer geometry, it's called arrangements of straight lines. And there are algorithms that are known for that. I forgot the name just now, so I won't be able to give you the name, but the algorithm I do to create the cells has almost the same structure. So I could actually detect edge intersection at the time I'm building the cells. And so this is one thing that I'm going to work on next time. And then I told you I removed I should not do proofs about caching too early, but now I would like to add more caching in the algorithm. So for example, I would like to have each cell have a pointer to its neighbors. And that's about it. I would like to change my the presentation of the algorithm to understand how using floating point numbers might interfere with the proofs. And for the vertical obstacles, I have a solution which is quite easy to implement, is that whenever you create a door, if you think that this door corresponds to a vertical obstacle, you just remove that among the possible paths. So then you can, you know, because each door is going to be an edge in a graph, and you can just remove these edges, and that will implement the fact that you are not allowed to go through. And I already have examples making the trajectory computation. So if you want to play with that, you can go to this link. The link is also given in the paper. It has limited computation capabilities because the COC code has been automatically transformed into JavaScript code, and what is running at this pointer is a piece of JavaScript, but it has computation limitations. Okay, I'm going to stop here.